My name is Thomas, and I am 77 years old. I do not say that with pride or with shame. It is simply a fact. A fact that carries weight every time I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror. Most people think old age is just about slowing down, playing golf, or spoiling the grandkids. They imagine it as a golden season, a reward after decades of work. And sometimes it is. But the truth, the one people rarely talk about, is that old age also arrives with a heavy set of realities that no one warned me about. Today, I want to share those realities with you. Not because I am looking for sympathy. Not because I enjoy dwelling on what hurts. I share them because I believe honesty has power. If you are walking into your later years yourself, or if you love someone who is, maybe hearing these words will help you feel understood. Maybe it will prepare you, and maybe, just maybe, it will remind you to treasure the time you still have. Now, I know 10 harsh realities of being 77 sounds like a list. But life does not come at you like a list. It comes in mornings and evenings, in small conversations, in sudden realizations. So instead of rattling off bullet points, let me walk you through a day or better, a season of my life. Inside that season, you will hear the truths that shape what it really feels like to be this age. I will never forget one morning last winter. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that almost rings in your ears. Sunlight came through the blinds in sharp lines. And for a moment, I felt suspended in time. I reached for the calendar on the wall, the one my daughter gave me with pictures of mountains from Colorado. And that is when the first reality hit me with force. Time itself feels different now. At 77, you do not measure years the way you once did. You measure moments. Each page you tear off that calendar is not just another month gone. It is a reminder of how few pages are left. When I was 30, I used to plan 10 years ahead. I would talk about someday trips, about retirement savings, about the house I wanted to build. But at 77, someday is gone. What you have is today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe a few more years if fortune is kind. But the certainty is this: the road ahead is short. And you do not know where it ends. I remember staring at that calendar and asking myself, is this the last winter I will shovel the driveway? The last summer I will take a trip overseas? The last Thanksgiving when I carve the turkey? These are not melodramatic questions. They are the honest ones that come knocking. Again and again. When you reach this age, another morning, not long after, I found myself at the doctor's office. Fluorescent lights, the faint smell of antiseptic, the same old stack of outdated magazines. I had gone in for routine blood work. Nothing unusual. The nurse smiled as she handed me the paperwork. But I knew what was coming, the waiting. Waiting to see if one number, one little line on that chart, would change the rest of my life. When you are young, a checkup feels like a chore. At 77, it feels like a lottery ticket, where the prize might be peace of mind or a devastating diagnosis. And here lies the second reality. Your body becomes your full-time concern. Every ache makes you wonder. Every blurry moment in your vision, every name you forget, feels like a warning sign. I once laughed at my father for keeping a binder of medical reports. Now I understand. That binder becomes the story of your survival. That day, when the results finally came back, there was one number flagged in red. Just one. And in that moment, my heart skipped. Was it the beginning of something serious? Was this the first domino in a line that would fall faster than I could stop it? The doctor explained it was manageable. Nothing to panic over. But I still remember the way my palms sweated, the way the ground seemed a little less stable. That is how fragile peace can feel when you live in this season of life. So here I am, 77 years old, and these are the kinds of mornings that shape my days. Some are filled with small joys, sunlight through the blinds, the laughter of a grandchild, the smell of fresh coffee. Others carry the weight of reminders time is short. Health is uncertain. Independence is fragile. I want you to know this from the start. My story is not one of despair. It is a story of truth. Yes, but also of resilience. Because even inside these harsh realities, there are sparks of light, gratitude, love, moments that matter more than any paycheck or promotion ever did. So stay with me as I walk you through what it truly means to live at 77. Not the greeting card version, not the sugar-coated one, the honest one. Because in honesty, there is freedom. And maybe, if you listen closely, you will find pieces of your own life in mine. One evening, I walked into the garage to grab a ladder. For most of my life, climbing ladders was nothing. Fix a gutter, change a light bulb, clean the leaves from the roof. But this time, I froze. The ladder leaned against the wall, tall and sturdy, and yet it looked dangerous. I thought about what one slip could mean. A broken hip, months of recovery, maybe even the end of my independence. That was the night I gave the ladder away. I handed it to my neighbor's son and said, "You will make better use of it than I ever will again." He laughed. I forced a smile, but inside, it felt like surrender. A small piece of freedom, traded for safety. And that is the third reality. Independence becomes fragile. At 77, it feels like your freedom hangs on a thin thread. One bad fall. One wrong step. One careless choice. And the life you knew could change forever. I used to join my friends for long hikes, even in the rain. Now, I decline. They tease me for being cautious. But I do not mind. I would rather live with their jokes than risk a slip that could steal the last of my strength. The older you get, the more you realize independence is not permanent. You have to protect it, guard it, fight for it, with decisions that younger men never think twice about. But even if you protect your body, your mind begins to play tricks. The fourth reality is harder to admit. Memory slips. Names escape you. Thoughts vanish like mist. One morning at the gym, I saw a man I had greeted every week for 2 years. His name was Max. I knew his name. I had always known it. But that day, when I opened my mouth, the wrong name came out. I called him Norm. He laughed politely. I laughed with him. But inside, I felt shaken. For 2 days, I tried to pull his real name from the fog of my mind. 2 days of searching for a word that should have been easy. When it finally came back to me, Max, I felt relief. But I also felt fear. Because here is the truth. Every time you forget something at this age, you wonder, is this just a normal slip? Or is it the beginning of something worse? I watched dementia steal the minds of 2 close friends. One faded slowly over 8 years. The other disappeared quickly in less than 2. Both stories ended in sorrow. Now, each time I stumble over a word or lose track of a thought, I ask myself, am I next? My wife and I have developed a system, checklists, reminders. We check on each other before leaving the house. Do you have your phone? Do you have your keys? It sounds simple, but it is survival. At 77, memory is no longer casual. It is a team sport. And then comes the fifth reality. Friends and family begin to disappear. When we moved into our retirement community 9 years ago, the street was alive with neighbors. We shared dinners, holidays, laughter that spilled across the lawns. Now, several of those homes are quiet. The chairs at those tables are empty. The couple on one side passed within a few years of each other. The husband first, before his 80th birthday. His wife not long after. On the other side, another couple faded in similar fashion. Dialysis, dementia, assisted living, one by one, gone. I walk past their houses sometimes, and I can still picture them waving from the porch, calling us over for coffee. The memories linger, but the people are gone. This is one of the cruelest truths of old age. You do not only carry your own fragility, you carry the loss of those around you. There is, however, a flip side. Loss has a way of sharpening your vision. It reminds you of what matters most. Which brings me to the sixth reality. Relationships matter more than ever. I have been married to my wife for 55 years. We have built a life together that is longer than some people live. And yet, the thought of losing her still terrifies me more than anything else. That awareness, though painful, makes every day together more precious. We find joy in small things. Morning coffee, evening walks, reminiscing about the vacations we took when the kids were young. I also rebuilt a bond with my brother after years of distance. We had lived separate lives, barely speaking. Then, one Thanksgiving, we sat down, opened old photo albums, and found ourselves laughing like children again. That moment healed a gap I thought was permanent. It taught me that at this age, relationships are not just important, they are everything. So, when people ask me what it is like to be 77, I could hand them a neat little list, but that would not tell the story. The truth is lived in moments like these. Giving away a ladder because you no longer trust your balance. Forgetting a friend's name and fearing it is the start of dementia. Watching a neighbor's house go dark after years of shared dinners. Holding your spouse's hand tighter because you know time is running out. These are the realities. They are harsh, yes, but they are also clarifying. They strip away the noise and reveal what really matters. Love, connection, gratitude for the time that remains. A few years ago, I stood in front of a closet packed with suits, shirts, and ties. Some of them I had not worn in decades. Each one carried a story: weddings, job interviews, Sunday services. Yet as I looked at them, I felt no desire to keep them. In fact, I felt the opposite. This is the seventh reality. You shift from wanting more to wanting less. At 77, accumulation loses its thrill. What matters is not another watch, another pair of shoes, another gadget. What matters is simplifying, letting go. I started giving things away. Books I once thought I would read again. Tools I had not touched in years. Even pieces of my old collection of model trains, the ones I built with care in my 40s. I imagined my children, one day after I am gone, standing in this same room, asking, what do we do with all of Dad's stuff? And I realized I did not want to leave them that burden. Letting go is not easy. Every item feels like a memory, a marker of identity. But the act of releasing also brings relief. It lightens the spirit. It makes room for the experiences that still matter: time with loved ones, laughter around the dinner table, a quiet walk at sunset. Of course, when you start letting go of things, your mind naturally moves to the next step, letting go of control itself. That is the eighth reality. Facing end-of-life decisions. I remember a Thanksgiving gathering 2 years ago. My brothers and I sat around the table long after the plates were cleared. The room was warm, filled with the smell of pumpkin pie, the hum of family chatter. And yet I knew it was the right moment to bring up a difficult subject. I told them I had updated my will. I explained where the documents were, what my wishes were, who would handle what. I named one of them as my healthcare proxy, the person who would speak for me if I could not. It was not a cheerful conversation. No one wants to picture a ventilator, or a funeral, or the decision to pull a plug. But avoiding the conversation does not stop the reality. It only makes it harder for the people you leave behind. We talked about cremation versus burial, about whether to have a service or a celebration of life, about the small but important details, songs, readings, photos. It felt strange, almost like planning a party for a date you do not know. But walking away from that table, I felt peace, not because death had become less frightening, but because I had faced it with honesty. And in doing so, I gave my family a gift, clarity. Now, if this story feels heavy, let me tell you something lighter, because not every reality is about loss. Some are about the way we choose to live in spite of loss. Here is the ninth reality. You become aware of how easy it is to slide into being the grumpy old man, and you fight against it. I have friends who repeat the same stories, again and again, without noticing. I have caught myself starting to do it too. I have friends who turn every conversation into advice, as if the world is still waiting to be taught by them. I feel that temptation as well. After all, when you have lived this long, you think you know things. But wisdom is not about proving yourself right. Wisdom is knowing when to stay quiet. So I make myself smile when a camera is pointed at me, because otherwise my resting face looks stern. I hold back when a younger man tells a story. Resisting the urge to top it with my own, I practice patience, even when my body aches or the line at the store moves too slowly, because I do not want to spend the last years of my life as a caricature, the bitter old man nobody enjoys being around. I want to leave a different memory, one of kindness, one of warmth. And then comes the climax of this season of life, the 10th reality. You see, with clarity, what truly matters. For me, it is not status, not money, not the house or the car or the career milestones. All of that has faded into the background. What matters now is love. The sound of my wife's laughter when we sit on the porch together. The way my grandchildren run into the room. Their energy spilling over like sunlight. The gratitude I feel when I wake up to another morning. Even if my body aches. Even if my memory stumbles. Gratitude is powerful. It transforms fear into acceptance. It turns the question, how much time do I have left, into, how can I cherish this day? I think of a cruise my wife and I took to Alaska not long ago. As the ship glided past glaciers, she held my hand and whispered, "This might be our last big trip." For a moment, my chest tightened, but then I realized that was exactly why it mattered so much. The awareness of endings is what makes the present glow brighter. That is the heart of this story. At 77, you do not live for endless tomorrows. You live for today. And in that shift, there is both sorrow and beauty. So when you hear me speak of harsh realities, understand this. They are not meant to drag you down. They are meant to wake you up. Because the truth is, life has always been fragile, fleeting, and uncertain. You just feel it more acutely when you reach this age. And that feeling painful as it is, can be a gift. It pushes you to treasure what is in front of you. It reminds you to let go of what no longer matters. It invites you to face what is inevitable with honesty and to meet it with grace. So here we are. You have walked with me through the realities of being 77. The limited time, the fragile health, the shifting independence, the slips of memory, the empty chairs at the table, the treasures of relationships, the letting go of things, the facing of decisions most people would rather avoid, the fight against bitterness, and the clear view of what really matters. It is a lot. I know. Maybe you are listening to this and feeling heavy. Maybe you are younger and thinking, this is too far away to matter. Or maybe you are older and nodding along, recognizing yourself in my words. Whichever place you stand, let me tell you something important. Old age is not only about harsh realities, it is also about surprising joys. But before I speak of those joys, something I plan to share in another story, I want to leave you with a deeper truth. Life has always been fragile. You just notice it more when you reach my age. When you are 20, you think you have forever. When you are 40, you think you can still fix everything. When you are 60, you start to sense the limits, but you still push them back. When you are 77, you can no longer pretend. You see the truth in every wrinkle, every scar, every goodbye. But here is the miracle. Acknowledging the end does not destroy life. It intensifies it. It makes the ordinary extraordinary. It makes the morning sun a gift. It makes a hug from your grandchild sacred. It makes even the struggles meaningful, because they remind you that you are still here. I remember one quiet evening not long ago. I was sitting on the porch with my wife. The sky was painted with streaks of pink and gold. She rested her head on my shoulder. We did not talk much. We did not need to. In that silence, I felt more alive than in all the years of chasing success, paychecks, and recognition. I thought to myself, this is what it is all about. That is the gift of growing old. You stop running after what does not matter. You start cherishing what does. You stop measuring your worth by what you own. You start measuring it by how deeply you love, how fully you give, how present you can be in this very moment. So, what can you take from the story of a 77-year-old man? If you are young, let this be a wake-up call. Do not wait until your hair is gray and your hands are shaky to realize what matters. Start now. Love more. Forgive faster. Spend less energy chasing what will fade. Spend more energy holding close the people who will walk with you through life. If you are in your middle years, maybe in your 40s or 50s, do not ignore the quiet signs. Your body whispers to you. Your relationships need tending. Your time is already precious. Do not push the truth aside. Face it, and let it guide your choices. And if you are like me, already in your 70s or beyond, know that you are not alone. These struggles, these fears, these memories, slipping through your fingers, they are not yours only. We carry them together, and together we can turn them into wisdom, into connection, into stories that help the next generation. Now, before I close, let me say this. I am not sharing these realities to discourage you. I am sharing them to invite you into honesty, invite you into gratitude, invite you into living today with open eyes. Because one day, whether you want to or not, you will face the same truths. And when that day comes, I hope you will not be afraid. I hope you will remember that someone, somewhere, told you the truth before it arrived, and that the truth, as hard as it can be, carries within it a strange kind of beauty. So, thank you for listening to the story of my 77 years. If any of these words spoke to you, share your thoughts. Leave a comment. Tell me what resonated. If you are younger, tell me how you see your future. If you are older, share your own realities. Together, we can build a conversation that matters more than small talk ever could. And if you want to hear the other side of the story, the joys of being 77, make sure you stay with me, because that story is coming next. Yes, there are harsh realities, but there are also joys that sparkle even brighter because of those realities. This is Thomas, speaking to you not as an expert, not as a teacher, but as a fellow traveler. Life is short. Life is precious. Life is worth living fully, right to the end. So go. Live today with gratitude. Love someone fiercely. Laugh without holding back. And remember, even in the harshest realities, beauty still shines through.